All right, very good. So let's, I guess, welcome, welcome to this little podcast I have. It's interesting. I guess you're a good luck charm because I just got partnered on Twitch about 5 seconds ago. So, wait, did you just?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's dope, man. Congrats.
I got a little check mark now on my thing. All right, so I know you wanted to talk about trans people, and then we established that when it comes down to it, you don't. Your claim is you don't you don't validate trans pronouns, right?
Well, yeah, I just don't believe them to be what they want to be.
Okay, yeah. So that's basically questioning like the validity of trans people, like
Sure.
whether they are or aren't valid.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fair. So I mean, that goes into a deeper conversation just about trans people in general.
that's fine.
So I guess where we'd have to start. So why is it specifically that you don't validate trans people?
Why don't I validate them?
Hmm.
I just I don't believe them. Well, here it would stem from this. So I think that the way that transgenderism is kind of being pushed is really just to blur the lines of sexuality as well as like biology, which is clear through the rhetoric of a trans woman is a woman. Well, no, it's not, right? Gender identity is really just how someone feels, right? I mean, we've established that gender and sex are separate, right?
Hmm.
Okay, all right, cool, and I'm fine with that, right? I'm not one of those conservatives like, oh, gender, there's only two genders. I'm not that guy, right? I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, cool. So gender is different than sex. All right, well, gender identity is just how someone feels, right? Saying someone is transgender is really just says that you feel like you go against the typical gender norms, right? You may be more masculine or more feminine or whatever, and I
Hmm.
think that that's fine, but that doesn't make you a man or a woman.
Hmm. Well, I would say that if you don't believe in the gender thing, then that I mean, because you said that like you believe like this difference between gender and sex, but then on the same token, you say that you don't really believe that somebody can identify. So it seems like you don't necessarily believe in the difference between gender and sex, because there wouldn't really
No, I
be.
do. I totally do. I
Yeah,
understand
right.
that gender is a social construct. I get it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. And so is your
And I believe that everything that's being done, so this
uh
will probably clear it up. I believe that everything that's being done, you want me to use, this she pronoun. If
sure.
you're, a biological man, you want me to use that she pronoun. That is just pushing the narrative. Like pronouns aren't based on gender. Pronouns are based on sex. You get that, right?
So right. So then it does sound like you don't really validate gender in general, right? Because if you did, you would be like, okay, I understand the difference between sex and gender, and then your gender would be your pronouns and the way that you identify to society, and then your sex is your biology, right? But it seems more like you're saying that, like, I believe in gender, but I don't.
To me, it would be like inconsequential.
Right. Well, so you don't really believe
I
in
believe that
gender.
pronoun use. I believe that pronoun use is based off of sex, not gender.
Okay. Okay. So okay,
That's what I'm saying.
I guess I get that. Okay. So I guess this is like a whole conversation about whether trans people are. So why? Okay. So I could kind of understand your argument to the effect of being able to identify for no reason, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. There are certainly people who just simply identify as a gender and there's no actual reason for it. For me, what validates, and I know I keep using the word validate, but what validates trans people specifically is ones that have a diagnosable mental disorder of gender dysphoria, because at that point it's a conversation about what's the proper treatment method, and the proper treatment method would be accepting these individuals into society and helping them get the treatment that they need.
Okay, so you're basing your validity on whether they have a mental disorder.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think that classifying somebody with gender dysphoria, I don't think that the
So, but it's still
classification.
based on what they think, right?
Sure, yeah,
It's
but
not what they are, right?
well, no, but I think that to an extent you can make the argument that what you think is what you are, especially if there's a logical rule set of having gender dysphoria, a
I
diagnosable.
don't think you could make that argument. How would you make
Hey,
that argument?
well, no, I just did. Like, if you have a diagnosable mental disorder, like if the only thing that would make you happy would be, or if you had so much distress associated with your gender identity not matching your biological sex,
Yeah.
that the only way to actually feel like a person without wanting to take your own life is to transition and
Yeah.
identify. I think that there's validity to that.
That has nothing to do with what you just said though. So
We
like
talk
what you
about
were
it.
just
It's
no,
everything to do with what you
what you were
said.
no, it's not, because what you just said is that you're just basing on, okay, well, they are what they are only if
Hmm.
they are going to take their own life or they're
Well,
going
no,
to do all these other
they
things.
are what they are as long as they have a diagnosable like mental disorder, gender dysphoria, and then I
No,
validate
that's
the
but that's
treatment
based.
method.
Yeah, but again, that's just based on how you feel. How you feel doesn't
Sure.
make you something.
I mean, like when we get to the fundamentals of it, I suppose it does to an extent, right? That's what it's.
All right, can I give you a thought experiment?
Sure.
Okay, so say that you have like a white man, and
Okay.
his name is Tom, and he is
Hmm.
born and raised in Iowa, right?
Right.
Right. To me, I don't know. When I hear Iowa, I just think of a super
Right.
white
So
state.
are we getting to like a transracial type of an argument?
Yeah, it could be anything. It could
Uh-huh.
be, it could be transracialism. It could be trans species. Really, it's just because what you said is just
Mhm.
based off of their mental disorder,
Well,
right?
no, but yeah, sure, they're mental disorder, but they're basing it off of a mental disorder is more than just basing it off the way that they feel. It's basing it off the way that they feel, bouncing off of like an actual medical diagnosis.
But it's still based off of how they feel. You didn't say
Sure,
anything that.
but everything is based off how you feel, just in general, like fundamentals of society. Your identification with a particular political party is based on the way that you feel. I mean, like everything in society is a social construct, and I'm not saying that means that we need to break the fabric of society. I simply mean that means that we're open to having a conversation about particular things and what they mean.
hmm Well, okay. So explain to me this. It's like if the criteria for a thing's identity is just based on belief, like what you're saying,
Uh huh.
then why
Well,
shouldn't
it's not just based
why
on belief; it's also belief plus like legitimate uh, distress associated with that belief. It's not simply "I believe, therefore I am." It's "I believe in the only way for me to be a functioning, happy human being."
why does that matter?
Why does happiness matter?
Why? No. Not why does happiness matter?
Well,
Why
no,
does happy? Why does happiness matter when talking about the validity of something?
I think
Why
that
why does your happiness make you more or less that thing?
I think that it comes down to more than just happiness. Like it is happiness, but it's not just like, oh, I'm kind of unhappy, so this is what it is. It's like a deep-seated happiness that's again associated with a particular mental illness, like something that's part biological, part environmental, that's going to craft you into who you are, something that cannot be reverted. So then it comes to the question of like in a society that focuses on empathy, why
Mm.
not? What's the
Because it's
downfall?
wrong. It doesn't
No, no,
matter.
no. But
Empathy has nothing to do with
no, but
anything.
what's the negative of validating trans people?
That you are just giving into a lie.
But
It's not. It's
why
not.
is it a
It's not
lie?
factually. It's not factually true.
Right, but then if you said before, if we can validate the difference between gender, which is effectively in your mind, and biology, which is your body, what's so wrong with having a conversation about about valuing the mind at least to the same degree that you value the body?
Look, like what I said. Like I'm completely fine. Like when you say the word like transgender,
Uh huh.
right? Okay, I'm like, okay, transgender. So you identify as a different quote unquote gender that takes,
Hmm.
the gender norms of whatever that other gender is. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But to me, like that's where it should stop, right? That's where it should be like, okay, so this person is a transgender woman.
Sure.
They're not a woman. They're not like a biological woman. They
Right.
are
Yeah.
a transgender woman. Right. That's what I'm saying. So we agree on that.
Yeah. So, but
What I'm saying,
right.
well, I think this will clear it up. Like
Sure.
what I'm saying is that like when we're talking about like pronouns specifically, what I'm saying is that pronoun use
Uh,
is linked to sex, not gender.
well, right. But
That's
then
first of all.
that I
And
would.
this
Okay.
will clear it up too. And not only that, but by doing so, that's really just it's cultivating this mentality that they are quote unquote real women when they're not.
Right. Well, no, they're not the same as cis women. Like that. So the conversation that we're having, I think it's important to talk about because I think it's a social construct conversation, right? Like we're having a conversation about the way that society perceives a particular thing, and
Mhm.
we can either in society we can function just fine with either thought process, right? Honestly, like there really is a very little change of whether you do or don't validate
Well,
trans
yeah,
people in the
this
society.
right.
It comes down to the fundamentals of how you believe that society should be run, and I think that like there's an argument to be made. I agree with the idea of an empathetic society that
Mhm.
validates, or rather, it empathizes with people with mental conditions in general. And like I had said before, what's wrong with valuing the mind at least to the same degree as the
I'm
body?
not there, but it's not an argument of whether it's like quote unquote wrong from like a I don't know, from like an ethical or moral or empathetic
Well, but it
standpoint.
kind of is though, because again, like
It's
it's
not.
it's irrelevant which one we like. We can as a
It is
society.
relevant. We're
No,
talking
no, no.
about facts.
But as a society, we can have a conversation about like social constructs, right? So sex is a fact, right? Gender isn't. And again, this is a social construct conversation where both thought processes can exist.
Yeah.
But you can, as a society, function with the idea of gender being separate from your biological sex. You
which I agree on. I
yeah,
believe that gender is separate from sex. That
sure.
we
So
haven't
we
disagreed.
can we can agree that that can be a functioning thing. So we can give the pronouns to people who have a particular gender identity
No,
issue. Because the problem that we're having here is like you keep kind of hiding behind the fact that you validate gender, but you don't, which is fine. But you got to be
that's not
honest
what it
about it
is.
because you're like, I believe that gender is a thing, but also I don't. That's
I
kind of
didn't
what you're
say
doing.
that. I said
No,
that
I know what you
gender.
said, but what you're actually saying is you're
No,
trying.
no. Don't put words in my mouth.
I'm not
Right?
putting
What
words in
what
your
I
mouth.
what I said. What
Uh-huh.
I said. Right. Let's base off of what I
Uh-huh.
actually said, not
Uh-huh.
what you think I said.
Well, no,
Right.
I know what you
Right. So
said.
okay.
Yeah, no, you're
So I said
continuously.
that gender and
Yeah.
sex are separate. I
How
believe
are
that.
so okay? So how are gender and sex separate then in your
I believe
idea?
that gender is a social construct.
So, but how?
I
What
believe that
else is gender?
I believe that there are like gender roles, but I believe that those gender roles
Right, but the
stem
gender.
from
Okay,
biological
it's right.
sex.
So then, what is gender to you? Because all you said is that you think that gender and sex are different, but you don't validate pronouns, and that you think that gender roles are a thing. So, what is gender to you then?
I didn't say that I didn't validate pronouns. I
What
said that I
is?
don't validate transgender
Yes, you
pronouns
don't
if it
validate
goes against
pronouns. Yeah,
their
you're playing
biological
semantics.
sex.
So, what exactly is gender to you then?
I just told you what gender was to me.
No, explain it again. Because all you said was that gender was different from sex, but you're not elaborating on how.
That's not what I said.
So then
That's not what I said. I
so
said
then
that gender
restate it.
is set. Okay, so I said that gender is separate from sex. I believe
Okay.
that gender is just your gender norms. That a man is typically, these more masculine traits or whatever society says for those gender norms versus a
Okay.
female, right? But I believe that gender does stem. It comes from biological sex. That there is some type of
Mhm.
normative from that sex. Does that make sense?
No, okay. So you don't agree that what gender is that what trans people agree with, right? You just believe that gender is a derivative of sex, and that they have reinforced gender norms.
Yeah.
But you don't agree that like gender is something that somebody has the ability. You don't believe in like gender expression in the capacity where you can change or that you can identify as a different gender than your sex.
What do you mean?
Like you can't like a trans person isn't like gender is always a derivative of sex, is what you're saying.
No, I would say that wouldn't really matter.
Right, no, but like you're just saying like, hey, if you're a biological man, then your gender is a man.
No, to me, and my argument is that that wouldn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's inconsequential to me.
Okay, so you're saying that you completely think that trans people are valid, just not the pronouns.
I completely think that they are valid as far as transgenderism goes. I mean, it's not like
Sure.
transsexism, right? It's transgenderism.
Okay,
right?
yeah, sure.
So transgenderism, I believe that to be valid as it stands, right?
Okay.
What I'm saying is that, and I feel like we're having a disconnect here. What I'm saying is that has not, when we're talking about like pronoun use specifically,
Mm-hmm.
that derives from sex, not gender. Pushing the she, the he, the whatever, that's completely based on sex. It's not based on gender.
So okay, so if you see like a trans woman, you just think it's a man.
Well, hold on. Trans woman would be what?
It's a gender woman, biological male. So
Okay.
your argument's that that's a man, right?
Yes.
That's it.
Right.
But but you're okay with them, particularly getting like mental health help.
Of course, man.
So
I'm completely fine with them doing. I'm completely fine with them living their life however they want to live. I'm even fine with like, and this comes back to like this whole transphobia thing that like I get a lot. But I'm like, look, man, like I will call you by your name. Like if you are born Tom and you want to identify as fucking Trixie, then I'm like, okay, Trixie.
So it's
it's
literally just the pronoun things that get you. Like you're totally fine with like the mental the diagnose, like the mental disorder aspect of it. You're fine with people getting treatment for it.
Sure.
You're just not okay specifically with gender.
I'm not okay. I'm not okay with this narrative that I'm not okay with how it's being pushed to where we are really just blurring the lines between man and woman, hetero and homo. I believe that it's really just all trying to blur those lines, and that the way that it's being pushed through things like pronoun usage and through things like discrimination in the workplace or whatever.
Okay.
I believe that all of these things is just pushing this norm that that it's not really gender, that it's really based on sex. Because when you tell me that you are a woman, well, no, you are not a woman. You can call yourself a transgender woman, but you are not a woman by definition.
Right, you're not a woman by sex, right? Okay, I understand what you're saying. So it seems okay. So because part
Does
of
that
like,
make more sense?
no, no,
Like,
no,
I feel like we were
I
disconnected.
know, I get what you mean,
Okay.
and I think that to an extent I can kind of empathize with your argument of the way that it's being pushed. I don't think I
Hmm.
agree with your full argument, but I think that especially now and especially on TikTok, there are a lot of young people who are just simply identifying
Yeah.
to identify, and a lot of them aren't even making any legitimate steps towards trying
What
to.
are you thinking? It's like they're
There's
trending.
there's a lot of there's a lot of like when I was
Oh,
in
they call them
trans trenders.
trenders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
I was
yeah.
in high school, it was like, hey, we're all bisexual, and now it's like, hey, we're all trans. And like, it's funny because like I actually I make a common argument that trans people
Mm.
who don't have gender dysphoria, those individuals are diminishing what it means to have gender dysphoria, because I think that like there's no logical rule set for simply identifying as something. And even if you don't agree with me, at the very least I think you can understand like, okay, when it comes to like a mental disorder, that's more validating than simply saying I'm a girl and then making zero effort to even
I think that
identify
it's
as a girl.
interesting. I think it's interesting that you think that,
Mhm.
because I think at least a lot of people that I've come into contact, I mean, this is kind of like more anecdotal, right? It's just based on our own
Yeah,
experiences.
sure.
But like, I think that based on my experiences, when I talk to people in the LGBT community and they talk about this stuff, I
Mhm.
mean, they think that that gender dysphoria has nothing to do with it. That it's
Yeah, no, I
completely
hate
separate.
that.
But you're saying like the
that's
opposite. You're
everything.
like,
No,
no, it's
that's
not.
everything. To me, it's
So
everything.
can you explain that to me? Like, I love to hear it.
So okay, so like for me in general, based on like anything that we ever do in society, like I acknowledge the social construct argument to the a degree that it means that we can have a conversation about it.
Mhm.
So to me, there has to be some kind of like a logical rule set, even if you may seem like it might be a logical thought process to change your gender. There's a logic to saying, okay, you have so much distress associated with your gender identity not matching your biological sex that you feel that you are not a man or you're not a woman, and that you are the opposite gender or some other gender identity that's not actually
So
from your
basically, that it
biological
would
sex.
promote better mental health to do this.
Yeah, yes, yeah,
Okay,
they
I
would promote a
understand. I
better. Yeah,
understand.
that's my perspective. And then there's people who just diminish that by simply identifying, and I don't think that that's helpful really at all. And
Okay.
that's where
Oh,
I
so
come from.
that's
Yeah.
why you tie that into gender dysphoria, because you're like, well, if you don't actually have
If you don't
this
have distress,
disorder,
yeah.
yeah,
If you don't
okay,
have the stress associated with it, then who are you to say? Like, you're invalidating people with an issue. And then I think that like people would be much more receptive to trans people if there weren't a bunch of people just saying, "Hey, I'm trans," and then they have social body armor, because if you say you're not trans,
hmm,
you effectively get canceled for that. And you see a lot of
right,
people on TikTok who are like they're full. Let's say they're full identifying women
yeah.
who identify as men. Like they're fully presenting women identifying as men, making no effort to like change, and they just want to change their pronouns just for the sake of seeming cool, honestly, is what it seems like.
Right.
And
So
there is
how do you make that without them actually going to get a medical diagnosis? How do you make that determination?
I think that they have to get a diagnosis. Do you mean like one-on-one, like how can we call them on their shit kind of a question?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't. See, that's the problem. And I think that comes from more of like a social issue, where like it's socially acceptable to be a total bullshit liar, I think. And like that's
Yeah, it's
unfortunate.
fucked up. It's fucked
Yeah,
up.
no, because I think that it's like I think it's hard to have the conversation, because my thing is if you apply the I don't need a gender dysphoria diagnosis argument,
Yeah,
that means that anybody who says like I could sit here and say that I'm black,
right.
and what's to say that I'm not based on how
That's
I
what
feel?
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
no,
Like,
no, no.
how does like my thing is that based on okay, so what do you think about let's get into this then. What do you think about transgender like children?
No. Listen, okay, so if my kid was
I'm glad
trans,
just your answer
yeah,
that
yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's how I feel.
If
right
my
there.
if my let's say I had a kid that was 4 and they're like, "Oh, dad, I'm a girl." I'd say, "No, you're not." And then like as they got older, if honestly if my kid was still saying the same thing, I would allow them to identify, but I would never let them touch hormones. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be happy about, like, listen, I'd love my kid. It would be a little upsetting, but
Right.
I would support my kid. But hormones is like a hard no until you're 18 type of a thing.
Dude, that to me is
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
fucking child abuse, dude.
Yeah, no, yeah.
That you're like chemically changing your child. Like,
No,
it's
yeah.
insane.
I think another problem too is people don't think about this, and you get really upset when you say this. Transitioning is it is conversion therapy to an extent, right?
Sure.
And and I think it's totally a fine practice to use. Like if you're a trans man, or excuse me, or you're a biological
For like
man,
an adult.
yeah, for an adult.
Yeah.
The problem is that, and I know I just kind of steered off topic, but the problem is that nobody talks about conversion therapy when it comes to like maintaining your biological gender. your biology and your gender. So when it comes to like a trans man, that's a biological woman, gender man. The treatment is always, let's see, or it seems like it's always, let's see how we can get this person to identify as a male and make them happier by hormones and therapy and whatnot. But it doesn't seem like a treatment method used is to try to get them to align their biological sex with their gender identity.
Yeah.
Through that conversion of like, oh, how can we? Because like honestly, if your argument is, hey, take hormones to be more like a girl, take estrogen.
Yeah.
Why not potentially prescribe more testosterone to make them feel like the sex that they were born in? I'm not saying that should always be the treatment method. I'm saying that it's an option that doesn't seem considered, and it's bizarre. Because nobody should want to be trans. Nobody should want to be like different like that in a way where like it's mentally distressful for you. So
yo look at this fucker in the comments. I'm sorry, this dude is infatuated with me. I'm sorry if this is the same dude,
which is
this Mr. fucking Republican trucker. So he says that it's not that hard to just be respectful
listen, if that's him, I like both of you guys, so like, don't go too crazy,
bro. No, I'm not trying to make you prove sides. I'm just saying that he's a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But okay, so his comment says shit, where'd it go? It's not that hard to be respectful of others. So do you think that it's disrespectful? Is it disrespectful to not to for one, not call them by the pronoun use that they believe that they are, which as I've established that for me, you aren't that. But here's the thing. It's not that I'm actively discriminating against you. For one, I am fine to call you by the name. Like if your name is Trixie or whatever, like I said, or Leah or whatever the hell you want to call, I will call you by that because that is a fair compromise in my opinion. Like I'm not sacrificing my own ideals by saying that you are a woman. I mean, who the hell am I to say that your name is more masculine or feminine? Right? So like I am saying that I will identify you as your name, and but I'm not doing the whole pronoun usage, and I just will refrain from using it. Is that disrespectful?
So disrespectful, I would say so, but I think that your question isn't so much
like how?
Well, no, I mean it's like disrespectful. Like you're not respecting their pronoun usage, but I think that it's less.
But I don't have to.
No, you don't. No, but that's what I was going to get into. Is do I find it disrespectful? Yes. Do I think it should be by law legal? No. Like I mean, I think that you should.
But how are they not well, so just break this down for me. Why is it that I am the one that's being disrespectful? Why are they not being disrespectful to me? Why are they not being disrespectful? Why are they not being disrespectful to my beliefs? Why am I being disrespectful to theirs?
Okay, I guess I get what you're saying. I suppose. I mean, if
I don't know how to say it any different.
No, I guess I get what you're saying. I suppose it's because their belief probably means more to them. It does to you. I mean, I would say that
you can't even. How do you quantify that?
I guarantee you that you have no.
How do you know? You can't just say that. You're basing that on bullshit. Come on, Papa.
Hold on. I guarantee you that there's a zero level of distress or discomfort associated with you misgendering.
Who cares?
No, but that you asked me how it was disrespectful. That's
okay, but hold on. Okay,
hold on. Disrespect is like a feeling that one receives, right? So based to that person, when you misgender them, that's disrespectful because you're upsetting them. And if you said, "How is it not upsetting?" Like it's not upsetting.
That's not what disrespect is.
Yeah, that's what disrespect is. It's effectively upsetting somebody.
Bro, that's not it.
Yeah,
that may be quote unquote offending them or whatever. But that's not. I wouldn't say that that's quote unquote disrespect. Like I think we're playing semantics. You said that, no, bro, we're not. Like definitions fucking matter, dude. So like,
well, definitions are a gender.
Well, hold on. So look, if you said that the sky is fucking I don't know, fucking purple or whatever, and it's clearly black or whatever you want to say, it's red. The sky is fucking red when it's blue. Okay, if I say, well, no, the sky is blue, and you say, well, no, you need to tell me that the sky is red. That's not being fucking disrespectful. But
if the sky wanted you to call them red and you didn't respect that, then why not?
Fuck this guy, man.
It's a lack of listen. It would be considered a lack of respect, and like we could talk.
It doesn't matter what the sky wants me to say. It's what's true and what's not true.
We could rope it back to like the perspective of things, right? Because at the end of the day, there are so many things that are social constructs that like it's the list is endless. So if people decide as like a society that they should be gendered correctly, right? It would be respectful to. Respect their gender identity, then you'd be disrespectful by that token. And to extend that, I made the point before, and I just want to reinforce the point that their gender to them means more than you gendering them to them, right? So like you saying, hey, you're a girl, and they identify as a boy, that's more distressful to them than somebody being like, hey, Tyler, you're wrong. And I know that's true specifically for you, because
You don't know that's true.
I don't think that things get to you. There's no way. You're telling me you're that sensitive? Is that what you're telling
No,
me?
what I'm telling you is that I'm sensitive when it comes to things that are right and wrong. It's like I want things to be
Right,
like
right. But
if it's
again,
right, it's-
but again, this is something that we're like
but
society.
Papa, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, so you're saying that it's based on whoever, which you can't really quantify, but okay, let's just go with what you're saying. Your logic here. You're saying that it's based on who in this who is more like offended. Is that what you're saying?
That's one of the arguments that I made, but I also then when we come to what is right and what is wrong, I've said that like we are a society that has the ability to have different interpretations of different things, and as a society we can interpret particular things if we come to that societal conclusion.
Okay. So
and at the end of the day,
why,
gender really doesn't matter. Even
I get it, but hold on, I'm asking this because I want to follow it up with this
Sure,
question.
sure.
So why are we only having this with gender? Why does this not extend to things like racialism or your age or things like that? Why does it not?
Let's see.
If somebody truly believes that they are that, right,
Mm-hmm.
and it's causing them emotional distress or whatever, who am I to say that you are not black if you are white?
Right. Well, I mean, like, not for nothing, but there are actually transracial people that are actually valid. That like usually it's people who get adopted or grow up.
So you
in
believe
community.
that is valid, right?
It can be, but like I've said before, with gender dysphoria, is it has to be diagnosable to a degree where like it legitimately causes you distress, not some kid that's just trolling you.
Okay.
You know, and that's so, my point of validation is like the deep-seated distress that's diagnosable. Yeah,
I get it. But what you're effectively saying is that like, because it's based on their distress, and let's say that they are diagnosed with that. So you're saying that okay, it can be for gender, and you're saying that can also extend to racialism, right? You said that. Okay.
Well, so I was talking in reference to. Because the only people that actually are transracial and they don't actually want to like change their skin color or get surgery, but those are people who generally get adopted by somebody of a different race and they start to exhibit like I guess cultural norms of like the person who adopted them. So that's technically what transracial
to you
is.
It would be but to you it would be inconsequential whether they did get surgery or anything, right? Doesn't matter.
I suppose, right? Yeah, but again, that so in the I just want to clarify before we get too much further, is that transracial is very different from like transgender in that like transracial people aren't looking to change everything about them. They just simply are people who more identify with whatever race they were adopted by.
You mean like physically and like chemically change them?
Yeah, they're not looking for any type of chemical change. That's what transracial is now.
Yeah, I get it.
There is no transracial movement yet of people who are.
I get that. I totally fucking disagree, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, right.
So so you say that it goes from gender, transracialism is a thing. Okay, what about transageism?
I don't think it's not a thing. Nobody's doing that, right?
How do you know?
I don't.
You don't see it in the news.
Well, I don't see. No, I guess
actually, people are doing that because I came across.
People are memeing with that.
No. So there was a thing a couple.
Well, sorry.
Can I explain?
No. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So there was a thing a couple of years back, and I could try and research it and find it for you. I could probably link it after this podcast. But there was this guy, middle-aged guy. He looked like he was probably in his late 40s or something like that. Had a wife and whatever. And this was like on like national news, and he had at times he believed that he was like a 10-year-old girl. Like he would dress like a 10-year-old girl, and he truly believed that he was a 10-year-old girl.
Okay.
Right. So if you believe that you are a 10-year-old girl and you're saying that it would cause, I mean, your argument is that, well, we would give validity to them if it causes them more emotional distress. So if that caused him more emotional distress, why would we not have him identify as a 10-year-old girl?
Specifically because in this case, right, when it comes to trans people, right, where they have a difference in, like what their gender, right, we get that. The distresses or the harm per se is exclusively retained by that individual. Right? There's no harm on anybody else. Right? When it comes to somebody changing their age, it becomes harmful in the capacity of dating other people.
Why?
Because it's harmful to date kids. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, it's harmful for kids to date adults.
Yeah, well, that's my point. Yeah. So then that would be a reason why we couldn't validate that.
But why is it harmful? I agree with you.
Because kids can't give consent, of course. So like an adult dating a child.
If kids can't give consent, then why are there transgender children? Like, this is all the
well, no,
already
but
the way
that
it's
but that point doesn't dismiss my point, because I've already established you that there shouldn't be, or rather,
no,
there
understood.
shouldn't be.
I understood.
We
I
should be
completely
treating
understand.
with hormones specifically.
Right, I
Yeah.
understand. I understand that that's not your argument, but this is like the transgender argument.
I would say it's
right.
so
This is
for
the
some,
LGBT argument.
but that I
So-
think that issue stems more from the toxicity of LGBT community. In the extent where, like, it's very heavy with this gatekeeping, and when you try to contest something, they shit on you and cancel you. Like, you can't.
Facts.
Yeah, that's more of an issue from that than it is, because, like, the logic I think is there with my argument at the very least. You can go, okay, I get it, even if I don't agree. But now we're getting into stuff of, like, the toxicity and the gatekeeping of the LGBT community, where, like, if you don't validate everything that they feel, then it becomes a problem. That's why I always talk about the logical rule set behind anything. Before we make a step forward, there has to be some kind of a reason for it, and that's why.
But do you understand? Do you understand my stance and why that makes sense? Like, if you were to, like, I know that you don't believe in transgender kids, right? But you are. I would say, based on, again,
I specifically don't believe in allowing kids to take hormone therapy.
Of course,
right.
Right. But there are many people out there that do, right?
I don't know if that's necessarily true, because I think that it's illegal in the United States, at least. To get hormones before you're 18, I believe you can't get hormones. I don't think it's legal.
I think it's a state by state. Is
it
thing.
Okay? Well, you know what it is. I think we're actually talking about hormone blockers, right?
Right.
That's what you can get. Okay, yeah. And I don't agree with hormone blockers. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, even if you took out, like, the chemical and the physical part of it, and you just, I mean, if your 4-year-old comes to you and says that like you said, and says that, oh, well, I'm a girl, it's like, no, you're not a fucking girl, you're a boy.
No,
right?
Well, that comes to even a bigger issue, because it's so hard to deal with these things, because, you know, social norms, like, you get shit on if you, God forbid, you enforce your kid's gender role when they're young.
Right.
I would argue that giving into a 4-year-old's, like, plea that they're not the gender of their biological sex is actually manufacturing like transgenderism in that kid, because not reinforcing a gender role will.
You mean, so it would be like artificial?
Yeah, well, not even artificial. I mean, like, being trans is a mixture between genetic and biological and environmental factors. So if you don't consistently reinforce a gender role in your kid, it's going to confuse them, and they're going to be pushed more towards becoming trans.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. Sure, that's a thing. And it's it's absolutely a thing. And again, like, that's just some kind of the thing that was called you're being, you know. I think
that based on our conversation, man, I think that you understand my perspective, right?
Oh, for sure.
I understand your perspective.
I disagree with, like, the when we get to the end point, but, like, honestly, it's almost irrelevant, because your only thing that you're claiming is you don't want to say the gender, so it doesn't necessarily matter.
Well, it's not so much, but it's more than that. It's more so that I don't want to. I believe that definitions matter. Like, when you get into things like transgenderism and things like this, like, we have to understand. Like, when I say it, I'm like, okay, look, I understand that you are a transgender woman or a transgender man. I am not saying that you are a man or a woman. I understand that you are a trans whatever, right? That you identify as transgender.
Are you afraid of getting tricked by a very attractive trans woman? Is that why you?
Am I afraid? I wouldn't say that I'm afraid. I would say that I'm concerned that that's where fucking society's going. Yeah,
it might be, but, like, honestly, like, in all honesty, right,
dude, you could get, like, in this day and age, because let's like you and I we're probably closer to in age than most people on TikTok, right?
Sure, you probably.
So,
I'm 30, so I don't know how old you are.
I'm 30.
Oh, okay, then we're right on the money.
Yeah. Okay, so, like. So we grew up in, like, the 90s, right? So we get it. Okay. So, like, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you know, transgenderism, like, it was more.
It wasn't
easy.
really talked about.
It wasn't, but what I'm saying is that it was definitely easier to tell when someone was transgender, right?
Sure.
I mean,
I
like, how we are now, it's like, dude, somebody brought me, and I bring this shit up all the time on, like, my live things. They're like, yo, dude, you got to check out who Blair White is. I was like, Blair White? I was like, okay.
Blair White's a conservative trans woman, right?
Yeah. So they were like, yo, you got to look up Blair White. And I was like, all right, cool. So I go to YouTube and I look up Blair White, and I was like, oh, who the hell is this chick? So I'm listening to her. And then as soon as Blair speaks, I'm like, something's wrong there. Like I could,
Right, yeah,
I could just, I could just tell if something was like it wasn't there, but I was like,
right.
something's,
But
something's different.
it sounds
And
like
then,
you are a little afraid of engaging with a trans person.
I didn't say I was. I said that it's concerning, like that it's concerned, and I'm just sitting here like, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that is a guy, like that's a man, like you know what I mean? And I'm not shitting on Blair White.
Just for context, I disagree with your label. If that's a guy, that's fine. That's fine that you're using it, but I want to make sure I'm contextualized. I believe.
Sure. Understood. And I'm not discriminating against Blair. I'm just saying that based on my own belief, like that's a that's a biological man. And I was like, that was concerning because I was like, holy shit, like all the surgery that like Blair went through, like to more mimic what we believe to be more stereotypically female. Right. That
to align with
it was
like a female gender.
It was difficult for me to like fucking tell. Do you know what I mean? So then I think that this fucking promotes this whole thing is where, like I'm saying, it's just blurring the lines between heterosexuality and homosexuality.
So what it would be the harm though, specifically? Like let's just talk about it like in a situation with you.
Well, that stems from people's own personal beliefs.
Yeah. Well, but I think that's where we're getting. Like it's a collective of people's different personal beliefs, and I think that we each represent a different, like a particular perspective.
Yeah.
So what would be the harm if you slept with like a trans woman? Like how, like what would happen? Like I'm just curious. Like what would happen? Like if you met a girl, let's say she was fully passable.
That's not a girl to me, but I see what you're saying.
But like you couldn't tell, right? It was a fully. So what would happen if you found
like she
out,
tricked me? Like she tricked. Like
I
she,
guess
like,
so. Yeah. Like I guess.
So the transgender like tricked me, didn't let me know that they were a biological man.
Yeah. What would you do? What do you think would happen? Like
I can't say on a recorded broadcast.
Okay.
What I would do, but I could tell you that it wouldn't be. I don't even know because I think that I would be like. I would then be, you want to talk about distress? I would then be in distress.
I suppose.
Right. Yeah. So
outside of the
because look at this, Bob. So can I ask you this question? Do you believe? Don't you not even believe? Do you understand that people's sexuality, which I mean, completely, it's proven by the transgender community that people's sexuality is important to them?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so like my sexuality as a heterosexual man is important to me.
Sure.
And it doesn't even matter, right, why it's important. It just is important.
Sure.
So like if I was to unknowingly engage with with the transgender woman and I felt that I was tricked, it would not be good for anyone in that situation. What you're saying. It would not be good. Yeah.
So I would like to just represent, first and foremost, I would say, so that individual obviously sees himself as a woman, but I think this gets into like a different conversation. Because I talk about this all the time, like preferences, like whether you would and wouldn't. And like me personally, I honestly, I would be fine with like dating a trans woman. I don't care.
That's fine.
But I understand, and like this is something that I'm sure you're gonna agree with. I think that there's.
I have a question though, because you just said that.
Yeah.
With the transgender, like, does it matter to you, like the anatomy if they're post?
I would say honestly, all right. What would be the point if it was post off, right? Like, what's the point?
Okay, I got you, bro.
You know what I mean? Like because
you're not getting anything if it's not pre.
Because like I talk about like to me,
that's funny.
I think it's at least a little bit gay to date a trans woman with a penis, right?
It's a lot gay.
Yeah, well, okay, but you get my point. Like,
to you, right? To you,
to me,
to you, it's a little bit gay. Yeah,
it's a little bit gay, right? So
okay.
I forgot my whole point. It's just a funny conversation.
My bad, man. My bad. I didn't.
No, it's okay. But okay, so what the hell was I saying before? Oh, right, we were talking about like trans women feel that like like I do validate them. They're women, but like it's like so unfortunate to say, but they feel that they are the same as cisgender women, and so they get very upset when a straight man says, "Hey, I wouldn't date you because I think that's kind of gay." And I've seen
TikToks, dude, where like transgender women, they would say that not dating a transgender woman because they are transgender. If you're a heterosexual cis man, whatever the hell they say, thing, you're a heterosexual man, is transphobic. And I'm like, what the fuck is that about? I disagree
with that. Yeah, no, I disagree with that.
Okay, I'm glad we see eye to eye on that.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a myriad of because now there's a myriad of reasons why. I mean, it could be like a pregnancy thing. You can't get a trans woman pregnant. It could be the fact, and this is real, like that trans people generally have other like mental issues associated with being trans. A lot of times there's chronic anxiety and depression. Some people don't want to deal with that. And then there's simply the mental fragility of it, I guess. Like at the end of the day, a trans woman perceives himself as a woman, just like you perceive that trans woman as a man. And so at the very least, those perspectives neutralize each other to the point where you don't have to date that person. Like
Right.
because by their logic, you would have to date them, which means that their perspective of the world matters more than yours on an individualized basis. And I disagree with that. I think that each of you have the same weight when it comes to some kind of a relationship. So you should simply be able to walk away and be like, I don't want to engage with that person. And while I think that some of the language you use can be considered invalidating of trans people, I don't necessarily think that you're transphobic, because it seems like you literally just don't want to it's the,
Dude, can you
it's
say
simply
can you say that again? Can I say that? I'm gonna clip this shit
all
out.
right, if you're gonna clip it, personally, it seems okay. Now that you're gonna clip it, let me be fully contextually. It seems to me like you're not necessarily transphobic. Maybe a little.
Okay, end it there.
No,
I
gotta maybe a little bit ignorant to the to the whole trans conversation. But it seems like you simply just don't want to validate the gender, and you wouldn't want to like associate yourself sexually with them, with the trans person. That's like literally it. And like that's not that's not as bad as people think. I mean, like you're not going to beat the shit out of a trans person. In fact, I don't even think that you would be rude outside of maybe misgendering them.
I wouldn't, dude. Like I totally wouldn't.
I don't even think you'd be rude. So I don't think that
dude, I feel like people paint this whole thing as not using transgender like pronouns and things like this. I think that the way that they paint it is that one, that we're actively discriminating against you, and not only that, but two, that you think that if we're in like if I go out to like a bar with a couple of buddies or a group of friends and somebody brings like a transgender person or whatever, I'm not going out of my fucking way to like you wouldn't call them out on whatever.
But would you say? You know what I mean? Would you say there? Would you properly gender them though? If it's your buddy, it's really just you don't think?
No.
You don't
think I told you what I would do. I told you what I would do.
But it's your friend's
say,
like your friend's girlfriend or whatever. You don't think so?
Hey, what's your name? Oh, Spearmint. Okay, cool. Your name is.
Oh,
Spearmint?
So you would just call them by their name, like you would
the whole time, yeah.
Okay, but that's actually rather respectful.
That's what I'm saying. I thought it was respectful. I didn't think it was disrespect.
Yeah, no. If you're gonna call them by their name, I suppose like it really doesn't make much of a difference. It seems
that's not being disrespectful, bro. But people swear that it's disrespectful.
You really just don't want to gender. I mean, okay. I mean, listen. My perspective is
I don't want to blur the lines between between man and woman.
Sure, I get that, and like we disagreed, but like I understand that like there's worse out there. There's real trans like phobic people who want to beat the shit out of trans people.
Sure, I agree.
Yeah, no, and that,
I disavow that. Now, if you're
beating
the shit out of the trans,
no, I don't want to get. I know where you're going with this, and like I don't think
what was I gonna say?
I don't think it's appropriate to assault a trans person because you found out they were trans after you slept with them.
No, that's not what I was saying. That's not where I was going with that.
I thought that's where you're going.
No, Jesus Christ, that's not what I'm saying. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that on a recorded stream.
Yeah, I get that.
Yo, but I'm joking.
No,
dark humor jokes. Okay, so what I'm saying is that if you have a disagreement, and this extends beyond transgenderism, this even goes into like just the whole race issue that we're like kind of facing now in America, is that like if you disagree with a transgender or a black guy or a white guy or whatever, if you disagree with that person or you think that they're a piece of shit or you call them an asshole or you get into a fight with them, that doesn't mean that you are doing it because they are black, because they are transgender. It could have just been because they're a fucking asshole, and then you got into whatever issue. So like that's what I was just gonna say.
I guess I get what you're saying. Yeah, sure. And like and then like just because you are somebody that belongs to a particular community doesn't mean that you're right.
I could get into a fight with a transgender, but not because they're transgender.
I would say that also brings another conversation about like just because somebody identifies with a particular community doesn't mean that they are instantly right about that community.
Sure.
Right. Like because I agree. Yeah.
100,000%. So cool. So I'm gonna clip that shit out.
Jesus,
Papa Gut does not believe that I am transphobic.
Well, make sure.
And on top of that, I'm gonna add that other clip that actually said that I was respectful.
Generally, yeah, sure. As long as you use the name instead of the gender. Just make sure you add that I think that you're ignorant to trans issues. And that
I'm clipping that out.
No, make sure you keep that in there. Because I think that there's a very big difference between like ignorance and like actual bigotry. Like I think people, and when you blur the line, all of a sudden everything is like the worst. You know, like we equate, you know, like a 13-year-old boy using a meme that has the N-word in it with a soft A to like, you know, violent racists. When you say, "Oh, you're all racist," and I'd like, "Oh, it's just ignorant."
Right. Well, I mean, to me, I wouldn't care, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Right. But you get my point.
Yeah, I totally get your point. Yeah. So, do you think?
Because I'm talking about like Sky Jackson, like doxing a 13-year-old kid because like
who's Sky Jackson?
Oh, it's some celebrity girl, like some black celebrity
on TikTok.
I think that who the hell is Sky Jack? Like, I don't know. You know, it's a good question. She's like famous without TikTok. I think so.
She doxes people. Dude, doxing anyone If
She's a
they are
Disney
not like a
star.
fucking criminal,
She's a Disney
like
star. Basically, a young kid posted a meme as a young white kid, 13-year-old boy. It said like guacamole N-word penis with a soft A, right? And like it's a meme. It's an internet meme.
mm,
Because I'm very affluent in meme culture. And like apparently the whole family got ruined, like whole thing because of that's a stupid kid that's like a little ignorant. And then
so Sky Jackson doxed this 13-year-old.
apparently, yeah, no,
That's
she
wild.
kind of encouraged people to do it. Yeah, it was a
That's
whole
wild, bro.
yeah, and like it's sad. You sad to see it. Especially over something that's like really just like you shouldn't use a word, but like it's not like this kid is like running around like Emma Lou screaming
Dude,
now.
even if I mean, it's worse that they are a kid, in my opinion. But even if they were adult, that doesn't mean anything. Like doxing somebody, unless that person is like an active criminal that like has just abducted somebody or something like that. To me, I think doxing it's a shitty, terrible fucking thing to do because
Oh yeah,
what that does is also whether you are directly or indirectly doing it, that will promote some type of escalation likely to violence depending on who that person is.
Mhm.
Like, so for me, like personally, and a lot of other conservatives, even people on the left that don't put up with bullshit. Like if motherfuckers sent people to like my home or people that I know's home, like
Right, yeah,
because they wanted to dox them, like I want to be very clear that would not be good for anybody, like
well,
myself or you. Like so, like don't do that. You're literally just going to escalate a problem that didn't need to be there.
Right. Well, my perspective is that when you cancel somebody for something like that, like when you ruin their job experiences and whatnot, you're honestly like where somebody may have just been racially ignorant in the first place. Now they're going to be pushed more towards actual racism.
Oh, they're doubling down. They're doubling
yeah, because
down
now it's like, well, this black person just got me fired from, and like not that it's right, but like
that kind of like
it's a lack
right,
of
like even
yeah.
if they were on the fence, like
Yeah.
that now just solidified their
or even if they
belief
weren't, even if they were just like throwing the N-word around like that, just as a stupid joke that's inappropriate, sure. But now they're just gonna like be like full on racist, like, oh well, look who they did this to me, and like their whole lives are ruined.
Right.
So that's it. Yeah, no, I think that like cancel culture is very toxic. It doesn't allow for education. It's very stupid.
It's fucking terrible, and especially you get canceled for anything these days.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
you know that dude who got canceled for just using his just facial expressions, like that shit.
Yeah,
was insane.
I was the lead. I was his lawyer. Are you kidding me?
What are you talking about?
No, I mean like I defended him like very very heavily.
I didn't see any vids that you made on that.
I was on my alt account. I made a ton of videos on it. I was on stream talking about it. Did you see the New York Times article that they written about it?
Mm-mm.
They wrote a New York Times article about it.
Shit.
I ended up I was dragging I was talking about the article on my stream. I ended up talking to the writer of the article on stream. Like like I was was his number one lawyer on the whole thing.
The New York Times article, did it paint him as like this bad person or just what happened?
It was it wasn't that bad. Like it was
Because New York Times is left leaning.
No, yeah, for sure. It didn't paint him like a terrible person. Like it kept in like important details, like the fact that like Danelli said like, "Hey, I'm gonna stop making this content" before he was banned, punished at all, and still was verified. So like it was fair. It's that they didn't talk any shit about the other guy who pushed it, which is Heartthrobber. I don't know if you know who that is. He's
So I didn't even know this whole thing. I thought that it was just a bunch of people that were reporting his page, but you're saying that one person like kind of facilitated it?
What happened was like he was making the content, right? And people were like, "Oh, it's transphobic." I didn't think it was transphobic. I think that they were lighthearted jokes that some people were harassing the other people for. And like he would in the comments be like, "Hey, you have to stop." But whatever, they did what they did. Right? So I understand why they wanted the content to stop, but like he wasn't being transphobic. He was making a lighthearted joke basically at trans people. It's shocking when you transition. That's what I got out of it. And they're looking to shock you, by the way. Nobody shows you what they look like when they were like, let's say that's a man. Like, here's what I look like as a man. Now, look, this is what I look like as a woman. They're looking for shock. They just got a little bit of a negative joking shock from Danelli, right? But what happened is he got verified, and then all of a sudden, like, people are taking offense to it more, and they started complaining. And this guy Heartthrobber started talking shit about him. He lied about what Danelli said on his live stream, and then Danelli like on his YouTube live stream, Danelli posted the audio, and then his fans started being like, "Oh, you're a piece of shit." And they were being, saying racial, bigoted slurs because he's gay. But he kind of was asking for negative attention when he lied about,
because you're saying he just straight up lied.
he was like, oh, he's like defamed Danelli and straight up lied about him. So Danelli just showed, all he did was show the audio, and then his fans attacked him. Then all of a sudden, it's like, you guys are coming after me because I'm gay, and it had nothing to do with that.
Oh, he's the victim. He's the victim. Oh,
and then
man.
then he was like, oh, and then once he got banned, he's like, I did it because the New York Times was going to do an article, so I actually protected you. And then he's like, but I decided to turn it down. I never talked to them. Then it turns out like he was like the fucking premier star. Like he was the only person they really talked to was this like 32-year-old gay man. It was a whole like shit show. It was so pathetic. I had like a whole thing on my stream about it. Like I have it on YouTube. It's in there. It's like a whole fucking series about it.
That's
so
wild,
but it's a whole thing, man.
Somebody in the comments, I can't see it now. I can't see who it was. It was a little while ago, but someone in the comments said people have committed suicide because other people have not gendered them or misgendered them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that is that person's responsibility, that they hold responsibility over that? Like they like you can hold that other person accountable because they didn't do what that other person wanted them to do?
I mean, so like I get short and long answer. Like short answer, like no, right? Like I feel empathetic towards it. I think a problem with some of the problem with like the trans movement nowadays is like the sensitivity when being misgendered. Like I honestly think that there's a lack of, let's call it, masculine love in society, where that I believe like masculine love is supposed to break you down, where feminine love builds you back up. But you need that breakdown to be able to overcome particular obstacles and be conditioned to deal with stress. And I think that like nowadays with pandering, we're overly pandering to all identity groups to a point where like if you are met with some criticism, you just completely melt down.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are people in society that are simply just not going to, they're not going to gender you the way you want. And like, I disagree with it, but like, toughen up a little bit. You're just because you're trans doesn't mean that you're not a person, and you still need to be stronger. So is it your responsibility? No, I don't think that you should be met with any, like, if you're simply just misgendering them, right? I don't think that you're...
If you're going... I think that if anybody goes out of their way to just offend someone for the sake of offending them,
mm-hmm.
that you're probably a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. But if it's just
some
your
people
belief,
some people would say that's you.
But I don't think that I do that. Do you think that I do that? Based on our conversation?
I think that
I do that.
Out
of my way.
No, you know what?
I've never gone out of my way to misgender somebody.
I'll say that the way that you portray your beliefs makes it seem like you would do that, but then when you get down to it, I don't think you would.
No, I don't.
Like it seems more like you're like, oh, well, you want to be called a girl? Well, I'm not going to validate that, so I'm just going to say your name. And I think that that's. Yeah.
I've said that so many times.
Yeah. No, I think it's like, okay. All right, whatever. Like it's it's not that big of a deal. Like it's like whatever. You're gonna call me my name, okay? That's fine.
There are people that I have seen on TikTok though that like do seem to go out of their way to call like a person, like that person, a he, and whatever.
Yeah. Just be antagonistic.
I think just being antagonistic for the sake of being antagonistic. Not even look. I mean, I don't know if we make similar videos, but we kind of, I don't know. Like we understand as creators that, we want to catch people's attention, and shock value is a thing to get people to watch your video. But my thing is that, okay, I might say something that may be shocking, but the reason why I'm saying it is because of this, and I'm going to back it up with this is what my belief is. If you're just saying that, oh, dude, this, if you had a video that came out and just said that, oh man, look at this transgender, that's a dude. Like
right. I get what you're saying. Like there's no political,
exactly.
Right. I get what you're saying. It's literally just to be antagonistic. It's not like we're having a conversation about whether we should or shouldn't use pronouns. It's like, hey, I'm simply not going to use your pronoun intentionally to make you upset. Yeah, I get that. I agree with that. I understand that. I get that.
Cool.
That's fair. That was a nice conversation. I think.
Man.
That was nice. I don't think that once you get through everybody.
Did you think? Tell me the honest truth. Did you think I was going to be a piece of shit on the stream?
I didn't think much of anything, honestly. I just figured like, oh, this is going to be something. It's going to be fun. Like
okay.
I was looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be fun.
That's cool.
But like I think that was like a good resolution on that. What I would like to ask you about though is because like it was literally yesterday. What did you think about the presidential debates?
Trash.
You didn't like it?
We streamed it. Did you stream it too?
I did stream. I streamed it yesterday, and then I went all over again today, like in depth on my stream. I'm gonna
I gotta rewatch it. I should rewatch it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that okay.
Yeah, I was a little drunk when I watched it.
Yeah. My honest opinion is I think that it was not the debate we wanted. I think that it should have been much better. I think the moderator sucked.
Really? You thought he was bad? Why'd you think Wallace was bad?
Okay, so I think that he sucked, but not for the reason why you think. I don't think that he was. I think that he couldn't get control of the people, which was really Trump. I think that's why it's like he didn't. But then I would also put most blame on Trump for not respecting the mod at all. Like Trump did not respect that fucking mod. Like, at all.
You know what? It's like the whole system, because honestly, like when it comes down to it, they could have just muted their mics when they weren't talking, but like they didn't, intentionally, because we didn't want that debate, but they wanted it because everybody's watching it now.
Right.
The shit show.
I do think that Trump roasted the shit out of Biden on multiple occasions. I think that it was hilarious. I think that Trump, and I'm not a Trump supporter, but I think that Trump would have had a more quote unquote solid win if he didn't interrupt. Yeah, if he didn't interrupt. I mean, because that just made him look really bad. In my opinion.
He not only did it make it look bad, but he also, all he had to do was let Biden speak. And eventually Biden would have been burnt out by like the first 45 minutes.
Right. Exactly,
and he just couldn't get an edit. And like I was like, just if he had just stopped talking, but he talked himself into a corner.
Right. It's like, hey, Trump, you're giving Biden some rest time. Don't give him any rest time.
It was bad because like before that, I was actually leaning more towards Trump. And honestly, as of right now, I'm leaning more towards Biden, to be honest with you.
Really? Just because of that one debate?
I didn't like, there was a couple of things that really like, there were some funny zingers, like the whole tax thing got me. I was laughing. It was like he had a point. He's like, the only reason I could evade these taxes is because of you. And it's like, well, you know,
exactly.
He's not wrong. But what really got me was like his response to the condemning of like white supremacist groups. I didn't like he's done it before.
What do you mean?
Like Trump is, well, you know,
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about in the clip, but are you saying that he did something wrong?
Well, he was like, hey, can you condemn these white supremacist groups? And he's like, Proud Boys, step aside. And I was like, it wasn't enough for me. And it seemed
Proud Boys isn't a white supremacy group.
Well, but he just said Proud Boys. Like he could have.
Well, no, he didn't. If you go back, Biden is the one who brought up Proud Boys.
And then Trump parroted like Proud Boys. Yeah. But again, like it was, you know, Christopher Wallace was like simply like condemn white supremacy, and he was.
But he already has.
No, I know that, but if he already has, it should have been easy to do it again.
Here's my thing, and I think that, and I agree with what you're saying. It would have been easy just for him to say it.
He should have.
But my whole thing is that I think it's just a personality trait, and I would say that I also have a similar personality trait in this regard specifically, because if I have done something before. Like, it's not like I've done it in private. Like, he literally has been, like, there are clips of him on YouTube with millions of views, him condemning it, right?
Sure,
so if I've already fucking done that, to me, it's not offensive that you're bringing it up. It's more just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, it's like, I've already condemned this. Why would you even bring this up in the first place to paint me as, like, this racist anyway when this has already been laid to rest?
But all he had to do to not be painted as a racist was condemn it. So he kind
of... No, it wasn't. Because he's already done... No, it's not.
No, I know,
no, it's not. He's already done it, and it wasn't enough. So, like, if he does it again, how do we know it's going to be enough? Then it'll be a third time, and a fourth time. But
does it matter, though?
Yes, it matters.
Why? So you're saying...
Why are you bringing it up?
But you're saying it makes more sense for him to not outwardly just say, yeah.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
What is what you're saying? What are you talking about?
I didn't. No. Hold on. Let
me display. Let me display. Like, because what you're saying is like it's unfair to him to have to constantly reinforce an idea.
It's unfair.
Sure, maybe, yes. But like life is unfair, right? So he was asked specifically to condemn.
But I don't have to submit.
Sure,
to it.
No, you don't. But when you don't submit to it, we're up for interpretation on what that means. So now this is the way I feel about it. Him not condemning white supremacy there.
In this instance,
yeah, sure. I already like I already pretexted that with like he has before, which why it blows my fucking mind. With him not doing it now, to me makes it seem like he's trying to play to whatever base he has left, and I just don't think that it's right. I just don't think it's right.
I don't think
and like
I understand how you could get there.
I think a lot of people got there.
I think that a lot of people wanted to get there.
I don't want to get
like
there.
my thing is that I don't think that it would have been because of that. I think it would have been because he's just fucking tired of it, and he thinks that it's a ridiculous question because it's already been answered.
But he is the president, and like that's what being the president
means. It's already been answered.
Sure, but like that's what you do as a president is to constantly answer shit over and over. It's politics.
But what I would have said in his place is I probably would have been more like, well, I've already fucking answered this. He
Sure.
didn't say that. He should have said that. He's like, well,
But
I've
that's
already answered this numerous times.
Yeah.
So if you want me to answer again, yes, I will condemn them again. But to be very fucking clear, I've done this multiple times. And then I would have even asked the fucking moderator. I would have been like, how many more times is this going to be fucking brought up?
But
like,
if,
how many
if,
times
that, if that's how he responded, I would have been like, okay, great. That would have been fine. But
he didn't.
But the way he responded was like, and like I got what he was saying, but the way he responded was like, "Oh, Proud Boy, step aside." But like, you basically Antifa is worse. Okay, fine. Like, if you think that leftists, whether it's terrorist organizations or not, whatever, are more toxic right now, that's fine. I have no contestment with that claim. But just say I denounce white supremacy, but I think that like it's the leftist, whatever is worse right now.
And to be fair, to Trump in this too, like remember in this specific context when he was like, okay, they were the moderator was like, okay, white supremacy, so on and so forth, and then Trump said, okay, so who are we talking about specifically? He wanted like a specific.
Well, he was getting like a little. It was fun. I was laughing at first because I thought he was just.
He wanted a specific group.
No, I think he just wanted to like, what do you want me to call it? Like, I don't care. Like at first I was like, okay, Trump's about to be like, fuck white supremacy.
Yeah.
And then he just like, I don't know. It just wasn't aggressive. It just, I think you're giving him a
to
little
me.
too much
To me,
credit.
I didn't think that was. I had more of an issue with him just fucking constantly interrupting. But like,
well, that is an issue.
Yeah. What I'm definitely more not even so more, but I'm excited to see Kamala versus fucking Pence or whatever that's gonna come up.
Are you
next
excited?
week, right?
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
She needs to answer to some fucking questions, man. Like for one, like you legitimately in the Democratic debates you did everything but outright call Joe Biden a fucking racist in the presidential debate.
They're gonna wrap that on. Yeah.
And now support this motherfucker, especially after he said shit like, you ain't black if you don't fucking vote for me.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
True. Yeah, no.
So like, I'm sitting here like Kamala has to fucking answer to like questions like that. Why would you support this guy?
Well, that's fair because I don't really like her at all. But I think that also there's going to be like an argument to be made that like that's kind of politics. I mean, Ted Cruz flipped the second that Trump became in office too, because that's what you do. We have a shitty two-party system where like the second someone wins, like, all right, everything like it's you blur the lines between what did they say that was true and what did they say that was supposed to be as damning as possible, right? And then everybody just like, yeah, okay, fine, and we were all okay with the system. When like that's the biggest problem. I would love to see something like 5 parties on that stage.
Are you a third-party voter?
Do I? I'm not. Well, no, not usually. No, I mean.
But you understand the need for a third party.
No, I understand the need for like a 5th party. Yeah. No, I'm like a ranked choice kind of a guy. Yeah. No, I would love to see like I would love to see like Biden, Trump, and like 3 others on that stage.
Facts.
Like at the end of the whole thing, and also cut their mics off. You know. And let people speak, you know. Right. That's what I'd like to see because I think that's a bigger issue. It's like now we're forced to choose between these 2 people who probably don't.
Well, yeah, it's the lesser of 2 evils argument.
Yeah, right. Well, no, it's funny that you say that because Biden literally said that. He was like, I have like just saying for my dad, it's like, don't compare me to a king, just compare me to the other guy, kind of a thing. And I was like, oh wow, you're kind of admitting your shit. He said that quote, and I was like, oh, at least you're honest, like because that's his whole argument. It's like I'm not great, but neither is Trump.
Right, I'm better than the other piece of shit.
That's exactly that's exactly even what I said on my stream. It's unfortunate because I don't like either of those choices. Honestly, it's awful.
Well, this has been dope, man.
Yeah. You ready to call it quits?
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty good.
Okay.
I was. Yeah, I think it was super dope. I appreciate you bringing me on, man. I think that you understand my perspective. I understand your perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't.
And
think
for context, we both obviously disagree with each other.
Yeah.
But I understand your, and I think that that's always the first step because people give me a lot of shit. They're like, "Oh, you always pander to your conservative base," which is so funny to me. But you know, like obviously, like you know,
is your base more conservative or more liberal?
No, they're more conservative for sure. Okay. I'd say like my hard base is. I have a lot of followers, but like my hard base is more conservative. Like the first people to see my content are always conservative.
Which is interesting because you would identify more as someone on the political left or left of center.
I mean, I'm more progressive in value. Honestly, I've been going with this whole new age conservative idea. Like you know, like where like because I don't know if you know this. I'm a UBI guy. I'm a universal basic income guy.
I heard that on a stream that you had. I'm not that guy.
Yeah. But I'm the UBI guy specifically because regardless of whether you agree with it or not, UBI is like a freedom of financial choice still. Like it's I believe in UBI in favor of constant
of like welfare.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Welfare.
agree. I would agree.
Yeah. I don't like federal education programs per se.
Yes.
Something like that. Like the idea of like personal choice, because I think that like money is the root of everything. So we don't need welfare.
But that to me is more so like, so I would agree to an extent that the UBI would be better than like constant welfare and things like that. However, I still don't support it on principle because I don't believe in it.
Sure, that's fair.
But I would admit that
the thing that sold me on UBI was that like jobs are just like, whether Trump brought more jobs back or not, like they're all generally temporary. Like technology is displacing and driving down wages. They're displacing jobs and driving down wages. So we need something to offset that, and I do genuinely believe it's UBI, because you're seeing more and more people on permanent unemployment disability, and that's just going to harbor a very lazy culture of people that live off the system. So
yeah, I'd have to look more into the UBI.
Sure.
But typically when it comes to like governmental programs, I'm typically like,
I get
you know
that.
what I mean, for the most part.
One of the positives, in my opinion, to UBI is like you really can't fuck it up, right? You're just giving everybody $1,000 a month, right? It's different than running.
So you're talking, it would be just more put on the accountability of that person. Like you could fuck it up. Like you could fuck up this.
Yeah, you could fuck up your own $1,000.
Yeah,
but like you know, like the government should just, here you go, here's your $1,000, deal with it. That's my thing. It's still freedom of choice, because like I don't think that we should be. Because people ask me all the time, like, well, how do you regulate poor people from using it the wrong way? I said better community leaders that tell them to not, like that. You know what I mean? Like at some point, you know, rise or fall. Here's your opportunity, and if you fuck it up, that's on you. If you're gonna burn it, it's still stimulating the economy. So you know, it is what it is. You know,
right?
So that's kind of my perspective on it.
Dope, man. Dope.
So, yeah.
Well, again, thank you, Papa Gut Man, for bringing me on, dude. I really, really appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on.
I love the discourse. Fucked up in the beginning with the whole Discord, but now you see the light, and StreamYard is so much better.
It is quite a bit better. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get rid of this fucking ad here. But how much does it cost? I don't know. I'll figure it out after. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's only like $9 or some shit like that.
That's fine. I'll pay for it. So anyway, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I do, and it was a pleasure, and I hope to have you on again sometime.
Thanks, brother.
Take care. Take care.
I
All right,
want
let's get out of this.
Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.